Alright, welcome back. So another thing we can do when we are looking at theoretical and experimental probability is we can design our own little experiment or simulation on how we can look at complex situations using very simplistic devices for estimating the results. So for our first one here, we have a student guesses the answers on 6 questions, the multiple choice quiz. Okay, each question has 4 options and they pass if they get at least 4 correct, and we want to design a simulation using a die to model this situation. Now this is not particularly complicated. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't too difficult. So what we're going to do is, when we're first designing a simulation, is to kind of build it out. Right, there's not a lot that goes into this, but we can kind of get everything that we want by drawing out a kind of weird little schematic of what's going to happen. So we're going to start our simulation by rolling a dice. We're going to roll a die. All right, now this is going to be a certain type of die. Let's say it's a 4-sided die, so 4-sided. Alright, we're going to roll a 4-sided die, and we're going to see what happens. Now, let's say if we get a 1 to a 3, it's incorrect. And then let's say if we get a 4, we get the answer for our question correct. Right? And we are going to then record our results. And each time we run this little experiment, that's one question. So we're going to run it 6 times to get an idea of whether we pass. Now let's record our results by saying maybe that we have our frequency. Alright, so we have our frequency and our tally, and we can record that here. So frequency and tally, right? And we will go with incorrect and then also correct. Okay. Now, based on this, we can run the simulation. So I'm just going to bring up a 4-sided die, and we will run this simulation based on performing this 6 times. Alright, let's just quickly grab this, and we're just going to roll this 6 times to see how we did. So our first attempt, we got a 4. So our first go of guessing on this test, we've gained 1. And then let's do this again. So let's roll it again. And then we failed once. And let's roll. And we failed again. And let's roll it again. We have a 2, so it's another fail. And then a 4, which is a correct. And then we roll one more time, and it's a 3. So our first attempt was a 4 and it was a 2, and this was a fail. Now you can ultimately come up with a way of assessing, if we ran this a few more times, we could see whether or not the student passes. But ultimately I think it's enough to see you do it once and then we'll move on. But realistically, the hard part is really just designing a very basic trial that we can use in order to determine this outcome. Okay, so now we're just going to quickly do another one, and what we need to do for this one is we need to design another simulation, but we've got a different situation. So a soccer player has a 3 in 4 chance of scoring a penalty, and there is a 1 in 6 chance that the goalkeeper is off their line and the goal is retaken. So we're going to design a simulation to model this situation. So let's see how we go. So the first thing we're going to do is look at this 3/4 chance, and we might instead for this one use a 4-sided die yet again. So we're going to start out by roll a 4-sided die. That might be our first port of call. And then after we've done that, we're going to come up with some numbers that mean something. So we'll say 1 is a miss, and we'll say that a 2 to 4 is a hit. Alright, now this one's going to go nowhere. And this one here now needs to work out whether or not we have them retake it. So a 1 in 6 chance. So here we're going to roll a 6-sided die. And after we roll a 6-sided die, we're going to say a couple of things again. So it's going to be, let's say we have a 1. And if we have a 1, then we can say it's off the line. So he was off the line. So 1 is off, and we're going to retake. And then if it's not, that means we have a 2 to a 6 is going to be fine. Right? And we're going to repeat this multiple times to see how many times we can estimate the probability that we score and the penalty, or the penalty is retaken. And we'll just record this using a pretty basic tally system, just like before. So we'll do tally, frequency, and we'll have each of the possible outcomes. So the possible outcomes are it's a miss, we can have it's retaken, and we can have that it's fine. Alright, so let's roll both these simultaneously using this dice over here. So let's hit a roll. So our first one is a 1 and a 1. So when we roll a 1, it's just going to here and it's a miss. And then we'll do it again. It's a 2 and a 5. So we've hit and it's fine. Okay, 1 and a 5, we've missed. A 4 and a 5 is a hit and it's fine. 4 and a 2 is also fine. 4 and 5 is fine. 2 and 4 is also fine, and we might just stop it there. So we had the possibility currently, the frequency was 2, and then we have our other option, which was fine, which we had 5. Now we did 7 trials, so let's just say, and we've got 0 for our retaken. So we could estimate the probability using that data as it has a 0 in 7 chance of occurring. Well, but you can keep going until you get some example of where we actually get the penalty retaken. But it just depends how many more times you want to do this. There we go, we've got 1. And then we got, that was in 3 others, right? So once you're done with that, basically the whole point of these videos is just to show you how we can design this simulation. They're super easy. Drawing them out is a little bit strange, but they help us model complex situations. Alright, that's it for this video. Hope it was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.